Okay, we're going to move on to the next part of Armstrong and the mouse. We're going to find out what our mouse is up to now. The rocket sled. That was a disaster, moaned the little mouse, sitting in his capsule. It was anything but simple to get back on solid ground. The alarm clock was still dangling high above the busy streets. The parachuter got tangled up in a cable. The little mouse tied a few strings together to make a long rope and climbed out of his open-air prison. One thing was certain, a catapult would never fire him up into space. Night was falling when the mouse trudged home between the tall rows of houses. Suddenly there was a hissing and a flashing and a banging and bright lights up in the sky. Fireworks! When he had recovered from the first shock, the little mouse looked for a suitable vantage point from which he could observe the colourful spectacle. And then he had an idea. Look at what the mouse has been building. The little mouse fastened the last strap. The rocket was now firmly attached to the underside of the roller skate. All he needed was one more set of rings and a long ramp. I wonder what the mouse is going to do next. He was putting together the last few bits and pieces, the control column and the firing mechanism, when suddenly there was a loud crackle and sparks began to fly. With a terrible roar, the engine fired. "Oh no! Not now!" The rocket sled shot forward. It hurtled across the room, spitting smoke and flames, and crashed into a pile of books and junk. Oh no, look what's happened to the mouse's little house. There's flames all over the junk. His telescope's about to catch fire. I wonder how the mouse is going to escape. Let's read on and find out. A cloud of thick black smoke billowed out of the windows. The whole attic was in flames. At lightning speed, the fire cut through the dry wooden beams. The notes and drawings on the walls had instantly turned into ashes. The terrified mouse could rescue only one of his designs from the raging inferno. Down in the street, sirens were wailing and men in big helmets were shouting to one another. "What a catastrophe!" whispered the little mouse. Everything had gone up in flames. All his notes, the rocket sled, and even his telescope. Sobbing his little heart out, he crept away from the scene, sadly dragging behind him the one design that he had been able to save. The poor little mouse. The giant telephone was not easy to use. The little mouse needed all of his strength to dial the numbers. Ring! There was a ringing sound and the familiar squeaky voice answered at the other end. It was the old mouse from the museum. "I've heard what happened. Are you all right?" the older mouse asked in a worried tone. The little mouse told him all about his adventures from his first attempt to fly, right through to the disaster with the rocket sled. "You must take more care," the old mouse warned his young friend. "We mice can get easily hurt." They talked for a long time. "And one more thing, be on the alert. The humans have got their eyes on you now." Look at all of these humans. They're all looking for the mouse to find out what's happened. I wonder if they're going to catch him. The rocket mouse. The little mouse was still furious with himself for not being more careful. Because in fact, the rocket had worked perfectly. The engine was unbelievably powerful. It didn't need wings or wheels or anything like that. He wanted to try again. His rocket design looked extremely promising, and he had found a new hideaway for himself. It had a fireplace and a chimney, which he could try out as his launching pad. How resilient is our little mouse being despite all of the disasters he's faced? He's carrying on and trying again with his one design. I wonder if he'll do better this time. First though, he needed to get some new parts, but his thieving expeditions were dangerous. Men in long coats and dark floppy hats were popping up and sniffing around all over the place. What the old mouse had said was true. Humans were hunting for the little thief and astronaut. Here the mouse is in his workshop, working on his next invention. The rocket was almost ready. It stood there sparkling in the soot-covered fireplace. A tower of silver cans, each with its own engine. One by one, he would fire them and shoot the capsule up to the heights that had never been reached before. With a metallic click, the top section snapped shut and it was ready for takeoff. The little mouse slipped into his spacesuit. The rocket was full of fuel. Cheese, bread and water had been safely stowed on board. The mouse reached for his space helmet. Suddenly, there was a rattling sound on the staircase leading to his front door. Who's that coming up the stairs? Can you see? The little mouse must be so scared. Darn! The floppy hats, moaned the mouse. The humans had found his hiding place. Panic-stricken, he raced back through the house to the front door, skidded across the smooth floorboards and reached the fireplace with seconds to spare. Dogs came chasing after him, barking and growling. The floppy hat shouted things that he couldn't understand. He grabbed hold of his helmet, raced up the ladder, slammed the hatch behind him and pressed a large red button. The capsule groaned and began to shake. The pressure forced the little mouse back hard into his seat. He could scarcely move. With a loud hiss, the rocket shot up through the chimney shaft and then through the chimney itself. A huge flame blazed from beneath the rocket, leaving a cloud of thick smoke behind it. The floppy hats were left standing there, their faces black with soot. They crowded together at the windows, pressed their noses flat against the glass and watched the sparkling rocket fly upward with the little astronaut on board. The mouse had escaped, but when they searched his hideaway, they found something else. Look at the mouse go! He's so high above the city, racing up in his rocket. And there he is, flying high, right above the earth. Can you see him poking through the little window? He's done it. He's made it all the way to outer space. Now, if you want to find out what happens to our little mouse in space and what happens with the floppy hats after they found the mouse's secret hideaway, you'll have to watch the next part of Year 2's special story. Make sure you go watch the video and answer those questions that we've got up so you can learn more and more about our special little mouse.